One thing that's very significant is when you think about Adam and Eve,
Mhm.
the serpent never came to Adam. Like the Bible never says that he came to Adam. He
Right.
only came to Eve. And the reason for that is because even the serpent understood that the woman is the woman species, us, we're governed by our feelings. And
Yeah.
so he was able to deceive her based off of like really, kind of playing into her feelings about it. Like,
Mhm.
you'll become as gods, you won't surely die. Like, but
Right.
see, he knew he couldn't come to Adam with that. Now
Yeah.
Eve came to Adam,
See,
you know what I'm saying?
seduction.
But
That's how
and
y'all
that
do,
just goes to
man.
show you, what the men are governed by, or
Yeah.
the male's weakness is. But it's just crazy how, like, yeah, he came to her,
Hmm.
and that's why it's important for us women to have, like the Bible says, a head covering. Not necessarily about having a physical head covering over your head,
Hmm.
but it's important for the woman to have the male head covering. So because men are not usually typically governed by their emotions,
Right.
women are, but there's a lot of emasculating going on of the
Hmm.
male species. So men are not as manly or masculine as they could be or should be, and so there's a lot of role switching and
Yeah.
shifting going on. But God's design works, and that's why
Yeah.
it's important. Like, that's why we need each other. We shouldn't try to be like the man, and the man shouldn't be like the woman.
Facts.
That's why it's chaos. That's why it's
Yeah.
destruction. And that was a part of the tactic of the enemy, and that's why the family unit, the family structure, family dynamic is trash right now, honestly,
Facts.
because we're trying to believe that, oh, woman can do the man's job, and we were not created to do the man's job. The
Yeah.
man was not created to do our job. God, even the way he wired us, even with our physical, our bodies, everything about who we are is a woman. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? A
Yeah.
wombed man. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
like, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with God's design. I'm not trying to be the man. I'm not trying to act like, you know what I'm saying? I don't even want a
Yeah.
man that's going to be okay with me acting like the man. You know what I'm saying?
Facts.
Like, it's just crazy.
That's an interesting correlation you made, especially with the Garden of Eden, because that's on my list of questions.
Oh, okay.
But in regards to the snake element, it's a
Mhm.
wonder why. And you've heard phrases like be wise as a serpent, harmless as a
Mhm.
dove. And men that typically understand women so well, we get called snakes because once you understand a woman, you understand if I just push that button right there, she's
Mm,
missing this in her life. She's bored. She's
interesting.
missing. She has bills. She's working two jobs. She has kids. What have you? We know how to slither right in there and solve that one the 10% of what she's missing,
Mhm.
and they fall for it. And of course, by doing it repeatedly, it's a game. And you mentioned one of your TikToks how we're hunters and we like the
Yeah.
pursuit. We like, and
Mhm.
it's not so much getting the woman because once you get her, I'm like, it's the same as mostly the same, like
What
same
is that?
anatomy.
Can we talk about that?
What
Because
go?
that is so annoying.
What?
It's
Go
like,
ahead.
I mean, I'm glad that God created you guys to be the hunters and whatnot. And yes, we should, as the women, prepare ourselves to be found because you guys are supposed to be
Mm.
the seekers. But it's like it becomes like a game, like a cat and mouse game because of that. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
I already conquered. Next, and that's the part that's kind of annoying. But yeah, let's talk about it.
So there's one part that tends to be left out of this whole conversation is how to
Hmm.
keep a man and what a man's weakness is.
Hmm.
And you kind of alluded to it already is that, Eve came back to Adam with this idea. The question is if he's so rational, if he's so logical, if he's so masculine, he's like the first
Right.
man, he is the
Hmm.
blueprint. How did he fall for the blueprint of the woman? Because
Yeah.
Eve understood Adam knowing his weaknesses. His weakness is the woman. And
Hmm.
so the way to keep a man is not through his body, it's through his mind. Just the same way a man has to get a woman, you have to get
Exactly.
her mind first before you get her body.
Hmm.
That's how you keep a man is to get his mind. A man is ran, and it's one thing I've always missed in a relationship, and I can't seem to find it unless you come across the right one. I've had a lot of girlfriends. Just it's hard to keep a girlfriend. It's a whole thing, especially with the military lifestyle. But if
Hmm.
a woman can get my mind, she has me. But I understand that's my point. My point of vulnerability. I haven't met a woman yet that understands me enough to know my weaknesses in my mind, to
Mhm.
understand the few things that, like, there's a piece of fabric that brings me to my knees. It's a sundress. It's so
You and
simple,
probably every man.
but the fact that you can walk 24 hours a day and see maybe one. I'm in Florida.
Mhm.
You might see one sundress. It's a whole
Mhm.
thing, but not many. Like, you mentioned, like the switching, as far as, do you understand men well enough? If you want something, you know how to get it. The damsel in distress card, you can pull that out, or oh help, or like, women know how to be feminine when it suits them, but
Yeah.
finding that authentically. So, to your point,
Mhm.
in regards to like the cat and mouse game back and forth,
Yeah.
a man can lose, and we often do lose early, and that's what makes us find the red pill, or the Andrew Tates of the world, the Kevin Samuels of the world, where we find the person who hasn't lost, or seemingly is perfect in the game, hasn't lost
Mhm.
ever, and like they're rich and they got multiple women, and the damn Brazilians of the world. We see that facade, and we think, if I can just get to that level, I'll win the
Mhm.
game. But ultimately, most of us get caught lacking in our teens, and we have that one crush that didn't like us back, or we have that one girlfriend, she cheats on us, and that kind of flips into, I don't ever want to lose the game again. Now,
Mhm.
there's part of us, and I get off my little tangent because I can go off on this.
Mhm.
There's a part of us that wants to play the game the rest of our life because we think the game won't
Yeah.
change. It's a term called uniformitarianism, and it's a physics term, but it's basically an assumption that the same, you know, the speed of gravity, or the acceleration of gravity rather, is,
Mhm.
it's like negative 9.8 meters per second today. But if you go back 1,000 years, we're assuming it's the same when it could be different. So assuming that everything today is the same back then, we often play the same thing with the future, and women do this as well, where we think the way my life is today, it will be the same 10 years from now, and I'll have the same energy, I'll have the same, life force, the same ambition. And I'm like, well, everything tends toward disorder. So as you get older,
Mhm.
things start drooping. You start getting tired. It's hard to salute as often. It's hard to the weights
Yeah.
kind of move a little bit slower, and you start noticing your body is succumbing to normality, reality.
Mhm.
And so we think that when we're young, we can play this game forever, and not realizing that even for men, our biological clock starts a little bit later in life, but it comes for everybody. And you could be
It
60
does.
years old and realize, I'm still missing what I need. And most of us pursue our wants while we're in our 20s and 30s. We're just chasing our wants.
And
And then once we get to our
unfortunately, in the
40s,
40s too, that's
yeah,
happening.